The bamboos smile. High atop a mist-covered hill stood an ancient Zen monastery, surrounded by a forest of bamboo. The green stalks gently swayed in the breeze, whispering words only attentive hearts could understand. There lived Master Haru, a man with a serene smile and eyes that seemed to hold the entire sky. His most repeated teaching was simple yet profound. Always think positively. Wherever your mind goes, your life follows. One day, a young man named Akio arrived at the monastery, shoulders slumped and eyes dull. He had suffered many defeats in the city, and sadness weighed heavily on his spirit. "Master," Akio said, bowing respectfully, "I've lost everything I loved. How can I think positively when everything feels so dark?" Master Haru led him silently to the bamboo forest. There, under the gray sky, he pointed to a small shoot emerging from the ground. "Look at this bamboo, Akio. For years it grows underground, unseen, as its roots grow strong. No one sees its effort, yet it keeps growing, trusting the sky it hasn't touched yet." Akio watched the shoot, surprised by its quiet determination. "Think positively, not because life is easy," Haru continued, "but because your thoughts are the water that nourishes your roots. If you think of shadows, shadows will grow. If you think of light, even in darkness, the light will find its way to you." The young man nodded slowly, as if a gentle breeze was beginning to clear the clouds from his heart. "So, Master, how do I start?" Haru smiled kindly. "Start with one thought, just one. Be grateful that you are here, breathing, feeling, learning. From that small shoot, a whole forest will grow." Akio closed his eyes and took a deep breath. "I am here. I am alive. I can learn." And in that moment, a ray of sunlight broke through the clouds, lighting up the bamboo forest. Since that day, Akio decided to stay at the monastery. Every morning upon waking, he would remember the master's words. Start with a positive thought. At first, it wasn't easy. His mind was used to replaying failures, losses, and hurtful words. But every time the whirlwind of negative thoughts arose, Akio took a deep breath and chose a new seed for his inner garden. Today is a new opportunity. Every mistake has taught me something valuable. I am stronger than I believe. Over time, these small thoughts began to change how he saw the world. Rain no longer felt like an obstacle, but a song of life for the earth. Mistakes were no longer chains, but steps to climb. Harsh words from others became mirrors to better understand himself. One day, while sweeping the temple courtyard, Akio found Haru gazing at the sky. "Master," he asked, "why do our thoughts have so much power?" Haru offered a bright smile. "Imagine your mind is a lake, Akio. If you throw in stones of fear and doubt, the water churns and becomes muddy. You can't see the sky's reflection in it. But if you cast in thoughts of gratitude, trust, and hope, the lake calms, and the whole sky can reflect on its surface." Akio pondered these words. For the first time, he understood he was not a slave to his thoughts. He could choose them. He could tend to his mind as one tends a garden. From then on, every thought became a seed, and Akio's young inner gardener began to awaken with patience and love. Days and seasons passed. The bamboo shoots grew tall and strong around the monastery, living symbols of patience and perseverance. Akio was changing too. His steps were lighter, his eyes brighter. The monks noticed that the young man who arrived downcast now smiled even on gray days. One afternoon, while helping in the kitchen, one of the oldest monks, Brother Kenji, approached him. "I've been watching your transformation, Akio," he said kindly. "What have you learned?" Akio paused to reflect before answering. "I've learned that thoughts are like the wind. I can't stop them, but I can choose which ones to open my windows to. Kenji nodded with satisfaction. That's right. Life will always bring winds of sadness, fear, and anger. But if you train your mind to welcome the breeze of hope and gratitude, your inner home will remain at peace. That night, under the starry sky, Akio sat to meditate beside Master Haru. "Master," he said softly, "there are days when it's really hard to think positively. Sometimes fear feels too strong." Haru looked at him with tenderness. "Always thinking positively doesn't mean denying sadness or fear," he explained. "It means choosing to return to the light again and again, even when darkness knocks at the door. It's like lighting a lamp at night. You can't get rid of all the darkness, but you can create a space of clarity." Akio smiled. For the first time, he understood that positive thinking wasn't a duty, but a gift he could offer himself every day. Over time, Akio became a role model for the younger monks at the monastery. Every morning, he greeted them with a sincere smile, sharing small reflections he had learned on his own journey. One day, a young novice named Run approached him with tears in his eyes. "Brother Akio, today I failed in my meditation practice. I felt impatient and overwhelmed with negative thoughts. What's the point of thinking positively when my mind feels like a runaway horse?" Akio took a gentle breath and replied, "Run. A runaway horse doesn't calm down with whips, but with patience and kindness. Our mind is the same. When you judge or force it, it only gets more restless. But when you observe it with compassion and feed it positive thoughts, it slowly settles." Ren looked surprised. "So even negative thoughts can teach us something?" "That's right," Akio nodded. "There's no enemy in your mind, only messages you haven't understood yet. When a dark thought comes, breathe and say, 'Thank you for coming. I see you, but today I choose the light.'" Ren wiped his tears, inspired by those words. That afternoon, as they gazed at the bamboo forest, Akio remembered another teaching from Master Haru. "Thoughts are like the seasons. Don't fear the winter of the mind. Deep within, the promise of spring always sleeps." From then on, whenever discouragement visited, Akio calmly repeated, "This too shall pass. I choose to return to the light." And so, his inner garden blossomed with serene strength. Summer arrived at the monastery, bringing long, warm days. The monks worked in the garden, cared for the temple, and offered shelter to travelers seeking wisdom. One of those days, a weary merchant came to the monastery. He had lost most of his fortune in an accident, and his face showed bitterness and despair. When Master Haru heard this, he sent Akio to speak with him. The merchant greeted him with a harsh voice. "Don't talk to me about hope. I've lost everything. Thinking positively is for those who still have something to smile about." Akio sat beside him, silent for a moment. Then, in a gentle voice, he said, "A while ago, I too had lost everything. Family, friends, purpose. And like you, I believed there was no room for positive thinking. But one day I realized that thinking negatively didn't bring back what was lost. It only stole what I still had." The merchant frowned. "So, what do I have left now?" Akio pointed to the golden sky at sunset. "You have this moment. You have your breath. You have the chance to start anew. Plant just one positive thought today and watch how, over time, your life will begin to change. Not because problems disappear, but because you will have changed from within." The merchant looked at the sky. A tear rolled down his cheek. "I never saw it that way. Maybe I can still choose how to see what happens to me." Akio smiled warmly. "We can always choose. True wealth isn't what we possess, but the attitude with which we live each day." That night, the merchant stayed at the monastery. At dawn, he was heard quietly saying as he watched the rising sun, Today, I choose to be grateful for this new day. Days passed in harmony at the monastery, and the teaching to always think positively was woven like an invisible thread into everyone's lives. One day, Master Haru gathered his disciples under the great cherry tree. Its soft pink petals fell gently, like blessings from the sky. Today, I want to share a story, the master said. Once there was a man walking through the forest who fell into a trap. He couldn't get out. The man began to curse his luck and think about everything he had lost. His mind filled with bitterness and fear. The disciples listened closely. Days passed, Haru continued. Then another man fell into the same trap. When he realized his situation, he took a deep breath and said, "I'm alive. I can think. I can find a way out." With that attitude, not only did he save his energy, but his creative mind found a way to escape. The master paused. "What does this story teach us?" Akio was the first to answer. That positive thinking doesn't change the situation, but it changes the one who faces it. Haru smiled. Exactly. Life will put traps, tests, and uncertainties in our path. We can't always control what happens, but we can choose how we face each challenge. The disciples nodded, feeling that this lesson had been deeply imprinted in their hearts. That night, while gazing at the moon, Akio reflected, "True power isn't about changing the outside world, but about cultivating a mind that always sees the sky, even through the branches." Autumn arrived, painting the trees around the monastery in shades of gold and scarlet. The leaves fell like gentle reminders of impermanence. One day, Akio was called to Master Haru's hall. "You've traveled a long path, Akio," the master said with calm voice. "But I want you to remember this. Thinking positively doesn't mean running from reality. It means embracing it with an open mind and a steady heart." Akio nodded. "I understand, Master. Sometimes I fear falling into false optimism, ignoring the hard parts." Haru smiled gently. "True positive thinking doesn't deny difficulties. It acknowledges them, honors them, and then chooses to focus on what strengthens the spirit. It's like bamboo, flexible in the wind, yet deeply rooted." In the days that followed, Akio practiced this balance. When a rainy day interrupted work in the garden, instead of complaining, he organized a day of meditation. When a monk fell ill, rather than fearing the worst, he chose to offer company, care, and words of encouragement. Gradually, he discovered that positive thinking is an art, an ongoing choice to embrace the light, even when the sky is clouded. One afternoon, as he gazed at the bamboo forest, Akio thought, "Each thought is like a drop filling the cup of my life. I choose to fill mine with clarity, gratitude, and hope." And with that conviction, his heart grew as strong and flexible as the bamboo stalks surrounding him. Winter arrived. The bamboo forest stood tall and silent beneath the snow. Inside the monastery, fires burned in the braziers, and the teachings continued to bloom. One day, as Master Haru and Akio walked together along the snowy path, the master paused. "Akio, what have you learned all this time?" Akio smiled humbly. "I've learned that thinking positively is a journey, not a destination. It's not about avoiding sadness or fear, but about choosing again and again to trust, to be grateful, and to show compassion. I've learned that light is not the absence of darkness, but the decision to light a lamp, even in the deepest night." The master nodded, pleased. "Well said, Akio. Remember, the world won't always change just because you think positively, but your way of living it will, and that is true freedom." They continued their walk. Snow fell softly, blanketing the forest like a pure white cloak. At a clearing, Akio gazed at the tall bamboo bending with the wind without breaking. "That's how I want to be, he thought. Rooted and steady, flexible in mind, always open to the light, no matter the seasons of life. In that moment, he understood that positive thinking wasn't just a practice. It was a way of living with an awakened heart. From then on, each day upon waking, Akio silently repeated, "Today I choose the light. Today I choose to see the good. Today I choose to cultivate peace." And like the bamboo that smiles toward the sky, his spirit blossomed, and with it, the lives of all around him.